about dominating the National League East. The Atlanta Braves seem to do that every year, and now we're going to get into it and see what can be better for the Braves here in 2024. Alex Anthopoulos, always kind enough to give us a few minutes to preview the season here on Newswire as he joins us now. And Alex, once again, great to have you on. Thanks for giving me a few minutes to preview your upcoming season. Opening day is almost here, Alex. We're finally here. Spring training's coming to an end. I know you guys have another game, though, today.
Yeah, we have two more, today and tomorrow. So, but I'm anxious to get going. You get to the end, and it's a long spring, but for the most part, everything's gone well.
Yeah, and I would say that for you guys in particular, the lineup that you have put in front of everyone this season is formidable once again. The quick additions, I guess, that you made to the team offensively was the move to get Jarred Kalanick, and then late in the spring, getting Adam Duvall. But top to bottom, this is the strength of the Braves, I would say, going into the season. Would you agree, based off what you saw last year, this year in the spring?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, it was a historic offense in terms of home run totals and runs scored and slugging percentages and things like that. So largely the group comes back. Now, some guys had obviously incredible seasons, MVP seasons and so on, and all-star seasons. We had 8 all-stars last year, 6 on the position player side. So, to expect everybody to repeat that, that's probably not fair. But the talent is certainly there to have a strong offensive club again.
Yeah, and I would say there was a couple of surprises for me last year from you guys. The first was the first half of the season that Michael Harris had versus the second half. It was fantastic. And then the other thing that really surprised me, Alex, was to see Marcel Ozuna get back to what he was here in South Florida several years ago. I was just stunned to see the kind of year that he had last year, to go ahead with, of course, the MVP in Acuna and Albies and everything else that you guys have there. So if you wouldn't mind, what went right for Harris more in the second half of the season, and how do you explain this sort of re-breakout for Marcel Ozuna?
Yeah, look, Harris had not struggled like that in his career. The young prospect did not have a lot of time in the minor leagues. We called him up. We had a need, and obviously had a tremendous first year in 2022. But it actually worked out for him. The fact that he could struggle like that and dig his way out of it and have a tremendous second half, like you said, and still put up a great year bodes well. So he made adjustments, and, actually he credits Marcel Ozuna, for a lot of his turnaround, just talking to him from the mental side and so on. You get down on yourself when you're struggling, and things have come easy. In terms of Ozuna, look, when we signed him originally in 2020, it was a shortened season, but he was arguably right there. Could have won the MVP. Freddie Freeman won it, but Ozuna's stats were pretty close with average and homers and RBIs and so on. But he was that good in that short a period. And then obviously, the next 2 years did not play well, but had a very strong finish to the season in September in 2022, carried that over to a very strong spring training. And, somehow had an awful month of April, but I give our manager a ton of credit. He kept playing him. He believed in him, and he thought he would come out of it, and he rewarded us. And you look at the year that Marcel Ozuna had, the homers, all of it. He basically did that in five months, because April was as bad a month as I've seen a player have. And again, I give our manager a ton of credit. It would have been easy to put him on the bench, but he continued to run him out there because he had belief in him. And Marcel certainly rewarded us, but he's worked hard. He's always been a very talented hitter. And it's nice to see him finally get back to the player that he can be.
Yeah, it was unbelievable the year that Stanton won the MVP in Miami, got himself, a deal, of course, with in the trade with the Cardinals, and then with you guys as well. So the pitching is going to look a little bit different for the Braves this season. Of course, Max Fried is back, and so is Spencer Strider. Charlie Morton, you got him back for another season. But wow, Chris Sale is on the Atlanta Braves for people who haven't paid attention to it. He has looked awesome this spring. Reynaldo Lopez, potential 5th starter for you guys as well. But I think everyone is quite familiar with most of the names on the Braves. Maybe they did not see Chris Sale pitch in the spring, Alex, and you did. What did you see? And with that trade, with him coming in, can he get back to what he was several years ago, which is the ace of any rotation that he pitches on?
I think he's capable of certainly being there. I think that's tough to put on anybody, right? Just having that kind of year. But he looks phenomenal. 3-pitch mix, strikes. I think the biggest thing, part of the appeal of acquiring, was this was the first regular, normal offseason he would have. He wasn't rehabbing anything. He could get thrown earlier. And that's really been important for him. And I know from experience with Charlie Morton, that's been a key to his seasons, is having a normal offseason, not having an injury to rehab and so on. And look, we know when Chris Sale's on the mound, he's a top flight starter. So we wanted to go out and get someone we felt good about starting a playoff game. We absolutely feel that with Chris. He's continued to show us fantastic stuff in the spring. And like all these guys, health is going to be the most important thing. But when he's out there, we expect him to be a mid to front of the rotation guy.
Yeah, he's obviously been that in the past. Let me get a quick update here on Ronald Acuna Jr., who I know has been back in the lineup and playing for you guys. He did have that blip during the spring where he missed some time. There was some nervousness, at least outside of the Braves. Maybe there was with you guys in the organization as to what would come out of that knee issue. Do you feel he's 100% healthy going into the season? And he's coming off one of the best seasons we've ever seen in baseball. So I would like an update, if you wouldn't mind, where his health is and heading into opening day on Thursday.
Yeah, when the injury occurred, we weren't concerned just because he was examined by doctors here in Florida and the medical staff here, and they weren't concerned. But look, he's a player of his magnitude with the history with the knee issue and so on. We just wanted to make sure. So we sent him out to California just to get a second opinion, and so just to make sure we've dotted the I's and crossed the T's. And he's been back in the lineup and doing well.
Now, let's get a little deeper into sort of where the Braves stand going into the season, because, Alex, you guys have dominated the regular season. You've dominated the division. The postseason has been a different story. I don't know if this is an apples and oranges thing, but we do have the NCAA tournament going on. And, Alex, for me, it feels like baseball is sort of headed toward this, where several years ago, and, of course, early in your career, when I grew up, all of these teams weren't in the postseason. It's made it a lot more fun. It's made it exciting. And we've been in a position where basically anybody, as we've seen, can win the World Series. But I don't know. It kind of has a tournament feel at this point to it, Alex, with baseball, where it almost doesn't matter how good you are at the in the regular season. It just matters how hot you are going into October. Has it always been the case like that? Because it certainly feels like now it has to be the case.
Well, look, there's more teams, obviously, but I think that's been good for the game. It's good for baseball in September. More clubs are engaged. More fan bases stay engaged. It's a good thing. And look, my view of it is you have to go out and get it done. And obviously, it's the postseason. It's a short series. Look, we had times during the season, even though we won over 100 games, we lost 4 in a row and so on, or didn't play well, didn't hit well, didn't pitch well. That happens. And you have to play your best baseball in the playoffs. And look, you're playing phenomenal teams as well. All those teams earn the right to the postseason. So, look, no doubt about it. The talent was certainly there. But the way I view it is if you get in, anybody can get to the World Series because you were able to survive the 162-game grind to get to the postseason. And then at that point, anything can happen. So I think it's just for us. I think every player would tell you the same thing. We have to find a way to get it done. Give all these camps and these players and GMs and managers talking about how they'd be really upset and disappointed if they didn't win the World Series. Well, only one team can do it. So, there's a randomness to it, but, when we've lost because the other team played better than us, and that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, no, I think that it's really the key is that just only one team can be happy. It's a good point at the end of the season. You guys were a couple of years ago winning the World Series, winning Executive of the Year, and all of that. Okay, so for folks who may not have followed the Braves intensely during spring training, like you, unfortunately for us, we know all the names. So, you have a bunch of stars, Alex, as you said, 8 All-Stars playing for the Braves. Who shined to you this spring? And spring's kind of tight to sort of take those numbers into the regular season. But who did you see this spring that you really think we should be more focused on? Maybe somebody that's not been talked about that much heading into the season.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we have a lot of stars. So you can't be surprised. We've signed a lot of these guys, so we obviously believe in them, right? But I'd say the guys that have had the best springs, Strider's had a phenomenal spring, but I know people still use this in the Cy Young conversation last year, but phenomenal spring. And Harris has had a phenomenal spring. But like you said, it doesn't always correlate, right? But these are 2 super talented guys. And I would say conversely, the guys that didn't have great springs that are great players, I wouldn't lean in any of that as well. But I'd say those 2 guys have really jumped off the page this spring, wire to wire, have just had an exceptional spring.
All right, fair enough. Last thing, Alex, opening day, another one coming your way this week. Always a special time in the game. And I would ask you what your routine is for opening day, how you're feeling going into the season on opening day. We make so much of it. I know it's only one game of 162, but here we are 3 days away from the first game of the season. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I think it's evolved for me. I think, early on, it's always special. It's opening day. I remember what it was like as a fan. It's incredible. Um, but I think I now have the perspective. It's worth the same. I was just talking to my kids about it this morning, and it's worth the same as game 2 and game 3. It's just a special day, and it's fun. And everybody wants to win on opening day. But I mean, the 6 years I've been here, I think two of those 6 years, I'm pretty sure we got swept by the Phillies in the opening day series, in the opening weekend series. So and we ultimately won the division. So it doesn't mean anything. You overreact to all that stuff. It's exciting to get the season going, but I look forward to it as a fan. I kind of want to get it over with as an employee because there's just so much around it, media, anticipation, and so on. But it's exciting that we have a new season, and I certainly know what it means as a fan.
Yeah, no, and we'll be watching, of course, and watching your club again this year. And wish you the best of health, Alex, with your team. And I know that you guys are going to be in there in the end. I'll be looking forward to see how far you guys go here, where you are too here in 2024. Hey, thanks for coming on Newswire, as you always have previewed your team with us every season. Appreciate it, and have a safe trip to Atlanta when you guys get done. And I'm sure we'll see each other in South Florida or somewhere else soon. Thanks again for coming on.
Absolutely. Always glad to come on, Craig. And hopefully, for Braves fans out there, we have a great year and we deliver on expectations and look forward to hopefully having a great year.